Whoa, 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 whoa. Can you make it make sense? Yeah.
I'm just trying to get my bands up, put my mama in a mansion. When he talks, now I'm
All right, everybody, welcome again to another edition of Make It Make Sense. I am Professor Kush Jenkins, and this is
Professor Otagbe.
right, and we're here to talk to y'all about business, because we money talks and we listen, and we make sure that you understand what it's saying. So today, we to start it off, how was your week, man?
My week has been crazy. It's been up and down, but hey, I'm still here. Just trying to ride the wave. That's like you just gotta try and ride those waves.
Yeah, I guess you're right. I love the beginning of the year, right? Because of the newness of things and how things, you just getting back from that long holiday, or sometimes, a lot of people get back from long holidays. And it's just the newness of things. And plus, I love Black History Month.
Oh, yeah.
Right. So that might be my tribe, but I
Right.
just love, seeing all the new things that Black artists have coming out with, especially documentaries. And it seems like, that many of your studios, they wait and they give you that great new Black material on February. I don't know why, but it is. And so, Pell, I'm waiting for my new, isn't it Pell that does the horror movies?
Well.
Keenan and Pell?
Oh, Kel.
Kel.
Oh, okay, yeah.
I'm waiting for my new horror movie. So, you've done great. You're 2-0, so I'm waiting for you to be 3-0.
Right.
Oh, he's got a new one coming out. So there you go. I gave you a shout out.
I'll have to check that out.
Yeah. But I don't think it's out yet, but it will be.
Okay.
And then, the newness of the year and everything in Black History Month. It's March. Outside of March Madness, is March where I'm starting to say, oh, New Year.
Right. When do you think is the date where you're not really allowed to say Happy New Year anymore? When do we cross that threshold?
Martin Luther King birthday.
After that, it's like, all right.
Isn't that such a Black answer?
Yeah.
Like when you...
So once we cross that bridge, New Year's resolution.
Yeah, once you got to respect Dr. King's birthday, then...
It's no longer Happy New Year?
No longer
Wow.
Happy New Year, right. If I saw you for the first time on January 25th, too bad for you. It's Happy Martin Luther King.
Right.
MLK Day. No, I honestly, maybe a little bit earlier than that. But I you know what? I just enjoy this time. Probably from October to February is just a great time to me. So I really enjoy it. I really like, the newness of things, especially during this time. Seeing myself be energized about my New Year's resolutions, right? Maybe that should be something we talk about in a later podcast. Making sure you have New Year's resolutions and getting your year started off right. And just those types of things.
I agree.
So, but outside of that, the week was wonderful. My stock went up. Shout out to Core Civic for my 5 to 6% pop to this morning. I appreciate you. That's not an endorsement, so don't go calling the SEC. I'm just telling you about my happiness.
Yeah, we gotta put a disclaimer here.
Right at the bottom. That's just so crazy because and one side I understand about the laws and these things and the regulations, but as an accountant, you almost can't even say like my stock goes up 5 to 10%. That's a great day. I'm happy, but I can't. I have to be reserved or cautious about how I express my happiness. Dude, if my house went up 10% today, I wouldn't, I wouldn't have to worry about the board of real estate coming and be like, hey, did you talk about your house going up 10% today? If my car went up 10%, but God forbid one of my stocks pops in one day, it's like, we got to disclaim to make sure that people know that I'm not supporting this stock and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I'm just happy that I made this investment at the right time and this stock popped.
It's just another law from the liberal left trying to limit free speech, Kush. That's what it is.
Is that,
No, I'm
that
just
it?
kidding.
Is that it? Is
No,
that it?
I think you could write a book on why, certain things like that are the way they are. I mean, because there's definitely, I think, strong similarities between the real estate market and the market economy at large.
Right.
And, stocks, the stock market and the market at large. So I think it's just based off of history and what, people have had like negative experiences with, bad financial advisors,
Right.
Bernie Madoff, whatever the case may be, or bad experiences with the real estate market with 2008. I think that those kinds of experiences, and depending on, I guess, how people respond is how the government might respond and say, okay, this is how we're going to frame these laws now so that if you decide that you want to try and sell a mortgage to someone, this is the new compliance. This is what you have to now do. You have to disclose this information. If you want to try and advise people to buy into certain mutual funds or stocks or like, this is what you have to have this license, or you have to disclose that you have these affiliations, et cetera, et cetera.
So a bad actor created the environment in which I cannot be fully happy about my success in the stock market.
I think probably plural, probably bad
Actors.
actors.
Touche. Touche.
Yeah.
All right. So speaking of which, right? So we had, because we were talking about the market and the economy, we had labor numbers, unemployment numbers came out last week, right? We held steady at 3.6%. The president says, hey, we are having the greatest economy ever. He did say ever, right? I thought he said ever.
I don't know if I heard
since
that
the beginning of time or something like that.
But I'm sure that sounds like something.
Yeah, it sounds about the
That sounds about
right.
Yeah.
And then, but he also is touting, right? And this is why let's get down to it, because we're in the tribe, and this is our culture. Black people have the lowest unemployment rate in the history of black peopledom.
Black peopledom? Wow! In the history of us keeping records of unemployment?
Right. I would, I mean, if you ask the administration, they would say it's the greatest time ever. So to be African American.
Wow. I wonder if that has any coincidence with the previous president.
Hey, good question. I ask you, does it?
I think, again, I don't know, because you know how it is the president is the face, but the administration is really was making all these calls. And then even at that, the economy itself, is also at play. So at the end of the day, I think I remember in my econ class, all the government can do is just push a lever or press a button and then just wait and see what happens, how the economy reacts, how we as the consumers react. So I don't know. I think it would probably be problematic to try and say, okay, there's a causal relationship between this president and this, going on. But all I just wanted to say was I just drew a correlation to just say, well, we also just had our first black president, ever.
Right.
And now, coincidentally, after he's gone, all of a sudden, black unemployment is at its lowest ever. Is there a relationship between those two things? I don't know. I'd have to look further into it. But I do believe that, President Obama did make great efforts to improve black welfare, the welfare of blacks in America. Whether, you believe he was successful or not, that's another thing. But I do believe that efforts were made.
All right. So, can I tell you a secret? I am not a fan of unemployment rates under 4%. So for there are different reasons for all of this, but let me speak for black people right now. We used to have zero unemployment. When we're talking about unemployment, we're talking about the well-being of people. And low unemployment has been associated with a very healthy group of people doing well, running businesses, employed. Our local economy is going well, right? I'm going to say this again. We used to have zero unemployment as black people. Were we at our best when we had zero unemployment? No. No one would say, because what I'm referring to is slavery.
Yeah, they're not counted. They're not within the
Right.
pool.
Well, if we were doing unemployment numbers then we would be, our unemployment would have been zero. It was non-existent. But were we in a good place, a healthy place as a community? No. In our worst space, in our inhabitants of America, we had zero unemployment. I think that when the president's administration pushes the notion of this being the best unemployment ever in the history of the black community, I think the uneasiness they're seeing is that black people in their subconscious, in their gut, know that we've had zero unemployment and been in the worst state of our history in America. So low unemployment does not translate to good times, right? So you can tout your wonderful work in bringing down black unemployment all you want, but however, you still support people who do not believe in our humanity. When you go out and tell the people that protested in Charlottesville that they were also good people, you're supporting people that don't believe in our humanity. Right? So I how do you balance those things? I don't know. And when I say I don't know, I genuinely do not know. However, to come to my community and tout low unemployment rates while support of individuals that don't believe in my humanity, low unemployment rates are just, I don't know, they don't, and then we could also get into the conversation that low unemployment rates mean that we have no friction. So that means that when people leave one job and go to another, they're not showing up on the unemployment rolls because they're working 2 and 3 jobs.
Right, cyclical.
And so therefore we've got a community that's working 2 and 3 jobs. And so my question is, does a healthy nation have its mothers working and leaving their children? I'm not, this is a question, right? Like, what is a healthy nation to you? Is a healthy nation mothers staying at home with their children? Or is a healthy nation mothers working 2 and 3 jobs to make ends meet while the children are staying with individuals that are seeking a profit in the care of that child? Right? I would say you're putting your care in the hands of people that don't know you. But then when you're talking about, most of these child care facilities are for profit. You're talking about a group that's trying to achieve a profit by caring for our next generation.
What I've gathered from what you're saying, Kush, is that you do not view unemployment rate, at least for black people, as a sign of prosperity or betterment of welfare, of job opportunities. You do not see low unemployment as, and that is because you feel that, for example, you gave the example of maybe a single mother.
Right.
If she has to try and work 2 jobs to try and support her baby,
Right.
whereas maybe, instead of trying to actively seek employment, perhaps maybe she could go to school and get a better education so that eventually then, and I think that's a good point to make, because when we're talking about these numbers, you mentioned another thing about cyclical unemployment, where you're bouncing between jobs,
Right,
and that
right.
doesn't really get factored
But we're not going
in.
to see that anymore.
Right.
That is mute under 5 to 4%. You can go ask the economists. Cyclical unemployment is muted under 5 to 4% because what is happening, if you've got 2 and 3 jobs, you're not unemployed. You're working at Uber, and you're working at Amazon, and you get a new job at Apple, and you're between jobs. You're not going to be counted as unemployed. Why? Because you've got that Uber job also. So you don't make the number.
Wow. Yeah.
But are we happy that we have? And maybe that's a look into the U6. There's some deeper numbers in there. So maybe that's a look at the U6. Underemployment rate, but are we as a society happy with people who have doctorate degrees and they're working at Apple? They're the greeter at Walmart,
Right.
or
Underemployment.
right, or underemployment, or are we happy with what's going on in Seattle, Washington, in San Francisco, where we have people with what we had classically seen as a great job, working at the post office with benefits and the like, but they cannot afford housing because the economy has outpaced the profession. So there's all these dynamics going on. So when I want to make sure that our listeners know, for me, those numbers are deeper. I'm not afraid of 8 to 10% unemployment. I am afraid of over 10% unemployment. But for me, healthy unemployment is somewhere in the range of 5 to 10, 4 to 8, somewhere in that range. Right?
There are theories that support you that I've also heard, because a lot of people, when you're talking about statistics, you always have to be guarded, right? You have to kind of wonder, okay, what is their basis? How are they measuring? How did they arrive at that conclusion? What was the pool? What people did they study? And when it comes to unemployment rates, numbers, one thing we have to wonder is, okay, how did they get or compile that information as to what constitutes an unemployed person? Because the only way you can really know if someone is unemployed is if they are actively searching for employment.
Yes. Right.
So what if you give up? What if you say, you know what?
Right.
I don't really feel like there's anything out there for me, so I'm backing out. I'm just gonna try and see if I can get on welfare.
Your name is a beautiful name, like Ashada, but you're putting Ashada on your employment and on your application, and you're constantly being turned down, because we know now through Harvard studies, it's just not us, it's Harvard studies, that if your name is Ashada, you have a lower chance of getting that job than if your name was Ashley. Now you've given up because you're not going to try anymore. Then what?
Right. And so I think that would be another theory as to what would give what you said, I think, some merit as to, is low unemployment really a sign of,
health in your community?
Right. And I would just have to say, yeah. I don't know. It's dangerous to really speak in absolutes like that, because there's so many other factors that need to be taken into consideration. So, I guess we just have to. You really have to dig deep and say, okay, which black communities, in which black communities are there? Is the unemployment actually, people are actually seeing the effects of low unemployment?
Right. Yeah.
So I don't want to paint a brush and just say, everyone's lives better, when that's not necessarily true.
So all right, so we got to move on because we dropped a lot on this topic. What another current event? The administration decides to bar, and they're going to expand out their list on countries that can't come here, and they've added on Eritrea, right, and Nigeria.
Right. Whoa, you've got that one real heavy, Kush.
Right. There's some insider ball here. We're not.
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, I guess the cat's out of the bag. If some of you didn't know, my last name, Otaigbe, is Nigerian. I am a Nigerian. I was born and raised in America. My parents immigrated from Nigeria. And my wife is Nigerian.
What?
Yes. Yes, she's Nigerian, and she's currently in Nigeria.
Yes.
So
this is home.
This hits home.
Okay.
I think I could. You guys could probably guess how I feel about this ban. But notwithstanding, I understand that a lot of the countries on there, they're developing countries. So when it comes to certain expectations that the U.S. might have for security and, Nigeria, documentation is just not in the culture there.
Okay.
I've been struggling to find my wife's birth certificate. You know what I mean?
Wow. Okay.
And so when you want to verify the identity of a person and those documentation that's not there, it makes the job more difficult. And so those are the challenges that countries like Nigeria are facing. But I do not believe that the answer is to uniformly, or unilaterally, I should say, deny immigrant visas to all Nigerians. I believe that there's a very big population of productive, educated Nigerians in the American diaspora. So
you're the most educated
ethnic minority.
Minority.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
okay.
man. And Nigerians that any of them that were watching will know the culture on education. The first question that Nigerian parents will ask you is not how are you doing, is how is school? That's the first question. That's the first question.
Right. Okay. So they without this issue of documentation, and let's say if you were located in, let's say, another continent, do you think that you would be more celebrated than restricted?
That's a good question. I mean, I do recall back when I was in a layover in Germany, and I was trying to fly to Nigeria. They kind of sectioned off the people that want to fly to Nigeria. Usually when you change the gate or something, they'll designate a new area for you to sit down. If you change the gate, but this new gate that they had sectioned off for us, it was literally locked. Like it was like a glass encasement, and you couldn't.
You guys had the flu or something.
Right.
Okay.
But the other thing was it wasn't even open. So they had changed the gate, but we couldn't even enter into. So everyone's just standing up, standing awkwardly as travelers, other people, coming through or just walking, and we just look lost.
Right.
So when I go through experiences like that, or when I see, like, if I have my, I think when I have my passport, I think somehow when I was going through customs in Germany, they saw like that I had. They saw this Nigerian. I don't know if it was stamped with the Nigerian visa, but somehow, some way, when they saw that, all of a sudden I was randomly selected to be for the screening. It was literally right after they saw that.
Right.
So when I go through experiences like that, I don't know how other countries, why I have a feeling how they view us, and I understand that there's also some. Reality. There's a reality to that as well.
A reality. Okay.
Because of kind of why we're leaving Nigeria and how some of us have a tendency to try and take advantage of welfare. But at the end of the day, it's just difficult when you know that you're not part of that, and but you're having to pay the consequences. So, but yeah, I mean, on the whole, any country, right, has good and bad people, and you can't try to stereotype, and
That's true. All right, so our last topic for our current events is Gayle King's interview with Lisa Leslie concerning the Kobe Bryant issue.
And
I
how
think
does this affect my money, Kush? How does that's what the viewers are waiting for? How does that affect my money?
Right. So all of our current events, the last one we're going to talk about how that affects your money. Everyone has seen the video. I think if you haven't, go look at the CBS version of the video, and make sure that you are informed before you come back or you clap back on our Instagram, right, and have something to say. You want to go first, or you want me to?
No, I mean, because personally for me, I don't really see a connection between how this affects my money.
Right.
So I'm waiting on you to kind of walk us through that comparison or that.
I feel as if and I've felt this uneasiness, and I think my whole community has felt an uneasiness with the Me Too movement for a long time. That we have been pointing at white men, but we've been lynching black men. That we've been making statements about white men, but we have been painting a picture about black men, right? And for me, Kobe, that interview made me, and it's not the fact, and maybe, I don't know, because I struggle. Like, I love Gayle King. I am watching CBS this morning, every morning, because of two people who are now have been caught up in Me Too. That is Gayle King and Charlie Rose. That is my public admission. When it first came on, I saw Gayle King, I saw Charlie Rose. I said, sign me up. Now Charlie Rose is no longer with the show, and I'm still there because of Gayle King. And now I saw Gayle King's interview with R. Kelly. I've seen a lot of her material, and I thought, okay, all right, that's easy. Now we are a country in mourning about Kobe Bryant. And when your country is mourning the way we are mourning, I don't think we bring up individuals, some things that have happened in the individual's past. We tend to, as a past mentor of mine said, we tend to look at the city in the rearview mirror. And every city in the rearview mirror looks beautiful. We did not talk about the first Iraq War when President George W. Bush, H.W. Bush, passed away. We did not discuss issues issues surrounding Nixon when he passed, right? When recently, God bless the dead, Nipsey Hussle passed, we didn't talk about his affiliation with criminal organizations. Right? And none of these men died as tragically as Kobe Bryant. And I would say that none of these men have been in the public view as long as Kobe Bryant. And none of these men have not had as much of a negative slant on their image as Kobe Bryant, right? Give me Kobe Bryant any day before you give me President Nixon, or God rest the blood, whether it be Nipsey Hussle as a person, as this type of. for her to bring it up, I just felt was out of place. Now, she picked the right person. Because if that had been my wife, I'm going to tell you what, Gayle King would have had bigger issues than Snoop Dogg. Right? Snoop wouldn't have been her issue no more. Right? I think a lot of black women in America can concur. If Gayle King had an interview Lisa Leslie about their husband, and that had went down, right? Snoop Dogg wouldn't have been your issue, right? Right. I don't know how Kobe Bryant's wife and mother are holding it down, right? And to persist, and to say to Lisa Leslie, well, he wouldn't have shown you that, makes me wonder, in her mind, where is the goalpost when it comes to, like, who a predator is and is not? Because I don't know if any man has ever shown you that. Like, and I understand that Gayle King might feel like she sat for years in the presence of a predator named Charlie Rose, but okay, does Stedman show you that? Does Tyler Perry show you that? And I think you would say no, okay, but then if I follow where your mind, your logic is going with the conversation with Lisa Leslie, they didn't show you that, but it could be them. Like, how are you really processing your relationships with black men? How are you processing your relationship with the black men in your life that you love? Because you just went to another black woman and she said, and gave you an example, and said there are other men who've shown these views, and yet Kobe never did this in private. She's giving you a view into her private life. What Kobe Bryant said, he never did this, but she outs other NBA players and says they have done this. And your retort is, but he would have never shown you this. So I'm kind of like, well, okay, how, no man will ever show you this. So are you the type of person that questions every man, right? And what does it mean to have your case dismissed? Or what does it mean for you to be innocent? I listened to a profound interview with Harvey Weinstein's lawyer, and she said she got into the business because her mother said to her, the Duke lacrosse kids will die, and it doesn't matter even what they've done. Someone will say in their obituary during the funeral, they're the Duke lacrosse kids. Like, their life cannot go on, and these kids have either been, their cases have either been thrown out or found innocent. So what is innocence, and what is an acquittal in the Me Too world? What is that? And so with her pushing back, now I know I've been talking a while, but now let's talk about what does that have to do with my money. And for me as a black man, if there's a black woman questioning the sincerity or the questioning if a black man could be violent, right? Even though he's showing Tracy's not, right? I'm wondering, like, when I engage in other conversations, business conversations, right? What are other cultures? Because I'm doing this internationally now. I'm not in America. I'm going to all sorts of countries now. And I'm wondering, are they looking at me now and they are knowing that you have the world's most recognizable black woman, besides Beyonce, is Oprah, and her friend are not there is a question if they believe that the black man can be, I don't know, how do you phrase it? There is a question if they believe, if they don't believe, if Gayle King does not believe that Kobe Bryant can be a good man, where does that rest with the rest of us?
Because we're not even at his level.
I have not had a camera on me since the age of 17 and 18. I have walked this earth for most of my life in anonymity. This man did not. And in his 37 years, no, 27 years of life, God bless him, he had one incident that he was acquitted of. And we still question if he was a good man. If he deserves questioning, right? If he deserves a retort on his deathbed with his beautiful young daughter, can I fault the Chinese businessman for saying, you know, we weren't able to finish this business conversation here. I normally invite people to my home. However, I'm not going to do that with you because you could be violent. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to go and I'm going to say, hey, let's talk tomorrow. Right? Because those conversations we know in those more personal settings, in the dining room table, at the golf course, or at the individual's favorite restaurant, those are where the business deals get struck. But if you think I might be violent, or I might be in a tribe that could be subject to violence, leaning towards violence, then you might not want me in those spaces with you anymore. And now I'm having to justify just like Lisa Leslie had to justify Kobe Bryant's goodness, I'm going to have to justify my goodness. Right? So what is, I think last week we talked about, I cannot remember who we talked about. And we basically said, well, that doesn't have anything. I think it was impeachment or something of that nature. That has nothing to do with our money. But I would say as a black man, the propagation of this idea that we are violent, right? And there's no problem. And I think, I remember hearing on the Breakfast Club, they were talking about a Washington Post contributor, a white woman who that had something to say. Other cultures can question you. That's another culture, right? But when people inside your culture who know you intimately are questioning you, right? Just think if my mother came in and I said, well, I gave Anthony $5, and my mother said, are you sure you gave him $5? Because you normally don't give people back their money. What type of person am I? Like, it gives you the opening to question me, because here's the person who intimately knows me is questioning my character. So it opens the space for you to question my character. So within our group, when you have, let's say, the most high-profile African-American news journalist questioning the character of a black man who has been under scrutiny for 27 years. Who is Professor Kush Jenkins? Has had a camera outside of his door for for 10 plus years? Who's Professor Octave, who has had jobs where cameras have been present? We haven't had cameras present since we were 17 and 18. Right? So that's how I think it affects. It gives credence to those who want to question the character of the men in our tribe, and not just question the men in our culture's character, but it gives them the opening to say, no, I don't think I want Professor Octave at our business meeting, at that dinner, because that dinner's at my house, and my children are there, and my wife is there, and you just don't know. Right? No, I don't know if I want Professor Jenkins at that meeting at my golf course, because I have friends there, and we've got this new program where we bring in high school kids to caddy, and I just don't know. It gives them that opening. So I think that we as people with a platform have to be conscious of what we say and where we go with things. I mean, I love this sister to death. Like, I love the example she's giving to my black daughter and my black niece. But I gotta say, whoa. Like, I'm not Snoop. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not Snoop. I do not condone but I in some ways I get it, because if you go back and listen to his explanation, he says them girls weren't alive when that happened. They might not know. But I'm gonna say this, we'll put a bow on this. Sister, you picked the right black family. Because if that had been the Jenkins family, I can tell you right now, I got 10 black women at my house that would have had a flip fit. And my heart goes out to Gayle King as far as the threats and all of that. My heart goes out to it. It shouldn't happen. But I'm going to tell you what, if one of them women is Mrs. Bryant, and you ain't come out yet and said, I'm sorry for... If one of them is not Kobe Bryant's mom, if one of them is Kobe Bryant's mama, come on, sister. We got to have a little bit more love than that to understand that this man had a wife, a mama, a grandma, aunties. Come on now. You really, and I wonder how Gayle would have acted, Gayle King would have acted if that had been one of her loved ones. Like, would she had a ran with that? That's tough. And I heard her explanation. I get it about, editing and how it was presented. But you know what? That clip, I know edited. And that clip piece, that was full. And when Lisa Leslie was defending, come on, sister. And you're the most powerful person in that CBS newsroom. When do we as black people press our power? You should have seen that clip. Something that makes sense. You're the most powerful person in that Anchorage room right now. When do we press our power? And then secondly, if you were backstabbed, and I have no, if she said she was, I totally understand. If you were backstabbed, when are we recognizing that our power brings that type of reaction? So what does it have to do with our money? I think it has a lot to do with our money, and it can potentially harm us. I mean, even Snoop's reaction, right? When he was calling her a B, saying he wants to shoot her and stuff, that's playing into this idea of the violent black man. and that can hold us out of spaces, which potentially could affect our money in the long term. I didn't think. Wow, it got
It got
heavy. All right, so we're gonna go to the next thing, man. I really didn't mean to get that heavy with it. Our last topic for today, and then it is the topic of the day, is, and I thought, oh God knows I thought, in a million years, we're gonna talk about the open letter that May sent, or the statement that May sent to Puffy after Puffy's Grammy award-winning ceremony, right? I thought I'd never talk about Mace ever in a million years, but the brother comes out, he makes this statement. If you haven't seen the statement, you need to look it up on Instagram. He makes this statement, Diddy, I heard your Grammy speech about how you are now for the artist, and about how the artist must take back control. So I will be the first to take that initiative. Also, before we ask of other ethnicities to do us right, we should do us as black people better. I agree with that. Especially the creators. I heard you loud and clear when you said that you are now for the artists, and to that, my response is, if you want to see change, you can make a change today by starting with yourself. Your past business practices knowingly has continued purposely starved your artists and been extremely unfair to the very same artists that helped you obtain that Icon Award on the iconic Bad Boy label. For example, you still got my publishing from 24 years ago, in which you gave me $20,000. Goes on and on. What say you, Professor Togby?
Well, this kind of touches on something I've been studying in my doctoral program, business administration. We're currently studying different types of research, and whenever you're doing research, you try and control our own biases, our beliefs that leak in. If you want to do a good research or experiment, you have to try and control for that and make sure that you are not allowing your own internal beliefs to leak in. So this, to me, kind of strikes me as what we would probably term as hindsight bias. Hindsight bias. Right. After everything has occurred, you've learned new things.
Right.
All of a sudden now, what you blend that together with the past and say, you know what? Based on what I know now, I was, scammed. I was, whatever.
Yes.
Without remembering that perhaps during that time you were in a different position, and that was the best deal, or the best that you were actually happy to be in that kind of arrangement.
Right.
So there's this conflict as human beings, where when we're reflecting on things from the past with the knowledge we have now, we remember it differently. Essentially, the memories changed. Now, all of a sudden, you remember, oh, well, when he gave me that deal, I actually didn't really feel good about it, but I just went into it because it was all I had. Instead of it was all I had, and I was thankful to God because I didn't know how I was going to eat. So that's my initial take on it. Of course, I don't know the inner workings of their deals or anything, and whether there's how much merit to what he's saying. But I think that all of us have a responsibility to ourselves whenever we engage in any type of deal or relationship with someone, is to make sure that we hold ourselves accountable and don't allow ourselves to get caught up by hindsight bias.
It is 2020, and I am at my wit's end of hearing minority entertainers talk about their publishing. I thought that we learned because of Ray Charles and him eventually going to get his publishing. I thought we learned about publishing when Michael Jackson bought the Beatles catalog. I thought we learned about publishing when Prince put Slave on his face for his catalog in Sony. I thought we learned about publishing right, with the Juice Crew. I mean, I could go on and on of example after example after example about publishing. And yet, here we are in 2020, and Mace is talking about his publishing that he sold 24 years ago. So, full disclosure, I have a book, and we're working on a book, right? Our publisher is McGraw-Hill. Bad Boy got nothing on McGraw-Hill. Right? Right? Bad Boy is no McGraw-Hill. How is it that we have our publishing and you don't? So let me tell you how that occurs. That occurs because we work to maintain our publishing. We didn't take upfront money. We did what we went and paid for attorneys to put in our copyright so we could get our publishing. It astounds me to no end to watch individuals cry about their publishing in 2020 of God knows all times. And for me, I do not know where and then you've got great artists like Drake and Nicki Minaj who don't own their publishing. And I'm like, okay, and this is the business. This is the business of entertainment, right? I mean, they're going to try to buy your publishing. If you thought you were so hot, why didn't you keep your publishing? Why didn't you keep it? So these entertainers, and this is probably going to be needs to be a longer conversation, but these entertainers, boy, I tell you, I cannot. They irk me with this whole idea of publishing, and maybe in another podcast we should talk about like I saw that Drake was the highest selling rapper of all time. And I was telling my son, I was talking about wealth and money in these things. And I said, damn, if Drake is the highest selling rapper of all time, that means he's bigger than Jay-Z. He sold more albums than Biggie. He sold more albums than Tupac. Here's the issue. Why are you bragging about selling out stadiums? When you're the highest selling rapper of all time, selling out stadiums should be like breathing. Driving a Bentley should be like drinking water in the morning or getting out of bed. What you should be bragging about at this moment in your life is that your second and third grade grandkids don't have to work anymore. I'm ready for the time. Like, are you as wealthy as the brother that went and paid all of the tuitions for Morehouse College, man? That's wealth. When you walk into Morehouse College and say, all y'all tuition, that was $40,000, $60,000 a year, gone.
Gone.
Have a great day. That's wealth. When you come and say, my third and fourth grade grandkids, I know they won't work. Not I hope they won't work. I know they're not working. I know they're going to college. I know that. That's when you got me. I hate to say that. Bump your plane, bump your stadium, bump your Bentley, bump your house. I don't care about your condo in the Intercontinental. Come talk to me when you say, I just bought enough shares to be on the board of GE.
But you can't put that on a plane. You can't.
All right.
Put
Oh
that
yeah,
on
you
your
can't.
Instagram.
Right, it's not on Instagrammable. It's not Instagrammable.
You can't drive that.
But it's wealth. It's the truth. And the first part of that wealth equation is your money, and you just don't have it. All right, guys. I think this. You got anything to add on?
No, I think you summed it up perfectly, and I think that could be a whole nother concept.
Yeah, I think we're gonna have to have a
nother-
whole other conversation about that one. That was gonna have to be-
wealth. But I mean, it's one that needs to be had because I don't think we did a good job. Or at least the people in my life when I was in school did a good job of really defining the meaning of wealth versus just being.
Maybe that needs to be our next podcast.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So for me, Professor Kush Jenkins.
And Professor Tagbe.
All right, we're signing out.
Hope we made it make sense.